Welcome, welcome, hello. We are so glad that you are here. Penn International is blessed to be home to so many poets world round. And beginning last August with our Free the Word, Locked Down, Locked In, the Penn International Women's Writers Committee has joyfully been curating and hosting poetry Zooms to hold us in solid community and make space and time for our diverse, skilled, and passionate voices of our creative community to be heard. So we're going to ask you to be sure that your speakers on your computers are turned up so that you can hear all our poets today. Wherever we are, the planet, our common home, has turned into a new season. And whether you are entering your spring or fall, whether it is day or night, we stand together at this window of the new, and we can be together in poetry and solidarity, empowering women's voices to be lifted in celebration, in grief, and in longing. Today, we're going to have a special dedication of our Free the Word Global Poetry Zoom. We are dedicating this event to the memory of two Myanmar poets. Mien Mien Vin and Kaza Win were among dozens of unarmed protesters killed during anti-coup demonstrations that took place across Myanmar on the 3rd of March of this year. In one of his last Facebook posts before being shot to death at a protest against the Myanmar coup, poet Ka Zaw Win explained his commitment to the nationwide revolt in the same poignant language that has characterized his writing. He said in his post, "Though I have different views than some of you, I'll lay down my life for you all." 2 weeks later, on March 3rd, the 39-year-old poet, activist, and loved friend of many made good on this promise and shielding younger protesters from harm as security forces fired into the crowd in the central city of Moni Way. The place where he died has been named Martyr Street now. He wasn't the only poet that fell. On what has been called the deadliest day since the coup began, beloved teacher and poet Mien Mien Zin was also killed in Moni Way. Like other protesters fearing the worst, she wrote her blood type and personal details on her arm should she need to be identified. And reportedly, she asked that her body be donated to someone in need should she die in her fight for democracy. In addition to these two deaths, many poets have been arrested, some already sentenced to time in prison. Please visit our website and send an email to Penn Myanmar to learn more about this devastating situation and join in solidarity with their brave people. We are now putting in the chat a link to our website and to email Penn Myanmar. Our friend and fellow poet, chair of the Writers in Prison Committee, Salil Tripathi, has written eloquently about Mint Mint Zin and Kaza Win. And I want us now to hear his words. Salil.
The poets had words, the government had guns. The poets did what they could with the tools they had. write, express, speak. The government did the only thing it knew with the tool it had. Its forces fired. The poet's words and ideas will outlast the government. They always do. In the satanic verses, Salman Rushdie reminded us what a poet does: to name the unnameable, to point at frauds, to take sides, stark arguments, shape the world, and stop it from going to sleep. The sacrifices of Dao Min Zin and Keza Win will not be in vain. We will not let the world go to sleep as we mourn. We will remember and amplify their voices.
Thank you, Salil. For our guest today, I want to introduce our very powerful tradition in Penn of the empty chair. We begin here at Penn International all our gatherings and all our celebrations with an act of remembrance. We remember that we who are free are privileged to be free. We are free to write and to dream and to publish, and we must never take that for granted. And when we gather, we remember and honor a writer who does not have those privileges, a writer in prison, a journalist that has been disappeared, and in too many of our countries, a writer who has been murdered for the act of writing truth to power. Today, we honor Gulmira Emin, a Uyghur poet, moderator for the Uyghur language website Salkeen, a woman who has lost all those freedoms. We may not hear her voice today, but we can see her face. Gulmira Emin, a 42-year-old Uyghur poet, writer, government worker, and website moderator, is currently spending her life in Xinjiang prison, one of the absolutely harshest in the world. Originally from Aksu City in 2000, she graduated from Xinjiang University. She published poems and short stories on various Uyghur websites. And then she served everyone in her community by becoming the monitor for the Uyghur language website, Salkeen. Chinese authorities accused Gulmira Emin of being an organizer of the July 5th, 2009 demonstrations and of using that website to distribute information about that event. In an official reply regarding Emin's case, authorities in China have said that she took orders from the World Uyghur Congress to distribute information about that gathering. The website was shut down and its contents were deleted. Then on July 15th, Gulmira Emin was arrested on charges of separatism, sharing state secrets in her phone calls to her husband, who was exiled in Norway, and disturbing public order. On April 1st, 2010, this 42-year-old poet, wife, mother, was sentenced to life in prison. In 2012, the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention ruled that depriving her of her liberty is in contraventions of Articles 8, 9, 10, and 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the Human Rights Watch awarded her the Helman Hammett Prize for her efforts to promote freedom of expression. Xinjiang prison has been documented as a forced labor camp, and there have been reports that Gulmira was tortured and forced to sign documents without knowing the content. Her status is currently unknown. Her health in these especially dangerous times, also unknown. We are working to make contact with her husband and will keep you all apprised of her progress. Her silence roars as does the silence of all the writers in jail cells across the world. We invite all centers and members and everyone listening to engage on her behalf by contacting the PEN International Women's Writers Committee or the Writers in Prison Committee. And now I ask for a few seconds of silence to breathe with all our silenced writers all over the world. And now we are blessed to see and hear from our poets with us today. Let's share some poetry. Hi, good to see everyone back. Today, we are beginning with the voice of a young woman, 13-year-old Arwa At-Tahavi. Hers is the voice we are all excited to hear. Arwa wrote an extraordinary poem on gender equality on the 3rd of February of this year as part of her schoolwork. She said that she chose this topic, and these are her words, because women and girls have been undervalued and unappreciated since the beginning of time, and it's about time we make our voices heard and bring change. Let's hear Arwa's voice now.
Hello everybody, my name is Ara Dahabi and this is my poem on gender equality. Go back to the kitchen where you belong. That's what they say and they know that it's wrong. Women or men, we're all the same, we're all humans and experience the same pain. Achieving equality is everybody's responsibility, requires the engagement of men, women, girls and boys. Women are human too, they're not just toys. What's the difference between us? We have to unite, yes we must. Girls can do what boys can do, yes we can. It could be better too. What's wrong with our generation? A sexist comment to temptation? Unite at last and come together. We change our world and stay like this forever.
Yay! And to that we say a resounding amen. Keep writing, keep speaking out, Arwa. Thank you. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce one of my very favorite word freers and writer freers of all, our president of PEN International, the first woman ever to be the president of PEN International, Jennifer Clement. Award-winning and riveting author, poet, brilliant maestra, and luminous wise woman, Jennifer lives in Mexico and is a member, we are proud to say, of our San Miguel PEN Center. Under her mighty innovative leadership, the groundbreaking PEN International Women's Manifesto and the Democracy of the Imagination Manifesto were created. Today, besides being with us, her words ring out on the PEN International website honoring World Poetry Day. She wrote, "Poetry is the search for truth and solace before the invisible, and every poet knows this. Although stars may have different names in all the world's languages, they cast the same light." And if I sound starstruck, it's because I am and glad to be. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Judith. And it's lovely to see everybody and share this day with all of you. So I've been writing during the pandemic a series of poems about dreams. So this one is called Dream 5. In the dream, I was you. I even wore your black lawyer to court shoes and a gray wool jacket. And because I was now a man in this exchange of shadows, nouns acted verbs, and so I said, I will apple you. We were almost alive to each other, almost alive like a newly picked plum in your hand, like a bunch of snipped blue grapes on the Limoges white plate with tiny pink flowers. Almost alive like the white rose bud in the vase water. I say almost because everything between the two of us is always almost, except in my dreams, when we become each other, and you can say to me, being me, speaking to you, yes. Thank you.
I will apple you. Wow. And poetry to me is so deeply about becoming each other and crossing lines of gender and culture to make community. Thank you, Jennifer. It is a huge honor to introduce the famous Nicaraguan poet with this line that she sent us. Yocanda Belli, born in Nicaragua, warrior, wife, mother, poet, and novelist. Welcome, Yocanda.
Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be part of this beautiful reading. And my poem is a poem that I wrote originally in Spanish, but I will read it in English today so that everybody can understand. Advice for a strong woman. If you are a strong woman, protect yourself from the pests who gladly would have your heart for lunch. Their costumes can be found in every carnival on earth. They come disguised as guilt, as opportunities, as prices you must pay. They rummage through your soul into the depths of the magma of your essence, not seeking enlightenment in your fire, but to extinguish your passion, the wisdom of your fantasies. If you are a strong woman, you must know that the air you breathe carries with it parasites, hornets, minuscule insects that want to inhabit your blood and feed on everything about you that is solid and great. Do not abandon compassion, but fear anything that would force you to give up your voice, to hide who you are, everything that diminishes you, promising you paradise on earth in exchange for a complacent smile. If you are a strong woman, prepare for battle. Learn to be alone, to sleep in total darkness without fear. Do not expect anyone to throw you a line in a howling storm, to swim upstream. Educate yourself in the crafts of reason and intellect. Read, love yourself, build your castle, surround it with a deep moat, but open wide its doors and windows. It is paramount for you to cultivate great friendships, for anyone in your circle who loves you to know where you stand, for you to build a raging bonfire in the center of your room to light an ardent furnace and stoke the fiery passions of your dreams. If you are a strong woman, shelter yourself with words and trees and invoke the memory of ancient women. Understand that you are a magnetic field, drawing rusty nails, howling towards you, and deadly corrosion from every shipwreck. Offer protection, but protect yourself first. Keep your distance, grow your strength, care for yourself, enshrine your power, defend it, do it for yourself. I ask you this on behalf of all women. Thank you.
I love it. That recipe makes a hell of a woman. And thank you, Jocanda, so much for tending that mighty stove whose blaze keeps dreams alive. Next, we are going to Slovenian pen to hear from our friend Dragita Charna. Dragita, Slovenian poet and aphorist, lives now in Brussels. She's a healer and a lover of flamenco dance. And she says, writing is another way to love. For me, it means traveling inside of me and connecting with feelings all over the world. Welcome, Dragita.
Dragica Čarna, tolikokrat. Iz svoje žalosti si dajala svetlobo, tolikokrat. Iz svoje bolečine si vezla srečo drugih, tolikokrat. Iz svojega joka si nosila mir na mizo drugih, tolikokrat. Iz svojega nemira si pela pesmi ljubezni, tolikokrat. Iz svoje usamljenosti si prebujala radost v drugih, tolikokrat. Iz svoje revščine si nosila obilje v stiske drugih, tolikokrat. Iz svoje zapuščenosti si rojevala, dojila, tolikokrat. Tolikokrat si sebe dala vse tisto na robu, da je pomagalo tolikim naprej. Zdaj si tu, sama. A moč je v tebi in vse reke in vsi časi in vsa obilja začetkov. Iz svoje polnosti ljubiš, živiš. To si vsa ti, boginja, ženska, mati. So many times, from your sorrow you gave light. So many times, from your pain you vowed the happiness of others. So many times, from your cry you brought peace to the table of others. So many times, from your restlessness you sang poems of love. So many times, from your loneliness you awakened joy in others. So many times, from your poverty you brought abundance to the anguish of others. So many times, from your abandonment you gave birth and suckled. So many times you gave from yourself all that is on the edge, so that it helped so many forges ahead. Now you are here, alone, but there is power in you and all the rivers and all of time and all abundance of beginnings. From your overflowing fullness, you love, you live. This is entirely you, goddess, woman, mother. Thank you.
Oh, the sweet, sweet gift of the cry that brings peace to others. Thank you, Dragita. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Vera Duštila. Vera is a Finnish playwright and screenwriter, student of political history, and the president of Finnish PEN. Welcome, Vera.
Hi, everybody. Where does that rat run? The rattle of small paws passes along the planks, repeats. It echoes from below, from the hold, and bangs like a kettle drum. Or was it the heart? And suddenly it is next to the pillow, near the ear, and growls and strangles, and its claws against the boards like shots. It shakes this ship to burst from the bottom. It stares in the dark with black eyes, and it wills evil. It crawls at night under the blanket, along the skin to the neck, under the ear, and whispers, "You do not suffice." It whispers, "When you die, when you die, when you die, no one remembers you." Rat's claws bite the beams. It tears the boards apart, breaks arched planking. It lays nests and pink babies in the oakum, all of them running along the structures, and it whispers, conjures, shouts, "You're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, do enough and do more." Those born to die eat the ship to puncture the bottom. Those incredulous, those bred without dreams, those grown with no soul eat the earth beneath. And with blind eyes they look. When you die, no one remembers you because you were not enough and there's nothing left. Then the dawn comes, crawling along the waves towards you, to wake you, to show everyone is gone. You pick up the carcasses of your nocturnal rats. You force them to dance in rows on your paper. You turn dead horrors clothes and morning dew robes. You assemble yourself and your sail. You deliver, you bang the drum, you sail. And this is an old poem, but I just wanted to underline that since nightmares have been visiting me and many lately, sometimes just a simple survival is also a celebration. Thank you.
You deliver, you bang the drum, you sail. I want that to be my epitaph. Yowza. Now we have the great pleasure of sharing poems of the noted Kurdish poet Shoman Hardy, who is this very day celebrating New Year, Newroz. And to her and to all our Kurdish friends celebrating the new year, we say, may your heartfelt wishes come true when we wish you a happy new year of joy and prosperity. Welcome to Shoman. We will now hear her words. Shoman Hardy is a feminist poet and scholar who was born in Kurdistan, Iraq, and returned home to teach English and initiate gender studies at the American University of Iraq, Suleimani, after 26 years of displacement. Welcome, Shoman.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be with you today. It's our New Year's Day. We lit the Nowruz fires last night, and today is the day to be with family. Since Nowruz resembles the end of oppression and the beginning of a new era, I'm going to read a poem called His Boots. It's about Saddam Hussein's boots, and it was written in the aftermath of the Iraq War in 2003 when he went into hiding. And I imagined him transform from a dictator to an old man on the run. And I also imagined a woman, an old woman, witnessing this transformation. His boots. The old woman will always keep those boots. On the day when things were ending, she was leaning on her stick in disbelief when a car with black windows slowed down. She watched the back window open fast, and there he was, the dictator, suddenly looking old and frail, dropping his military boots and replacing them with old men's shoes. Then the window closed and the car took off, leaving dust on the pair of boots, still warm and moist from his feet. Next, I'm going to read a feminist poem. In Kurdish, when a little girl is cheeky or funny or pretty, they usually say, "You will be married 7 times." This is supposed to be a curse. Apparently, this young woman will grow to become a young girl, will become a woman whom nobody will put up with, and she'll have to keep finding new husbands. I turn this around and I wanted to show that actually being married 7 times, I mean, you must be special if you get 7 people to marry you. That it's a sign of success. It's a sign of not accepting a bad marriage, not staying trapped in unhappy relationships. And it's actually a joke as well. So the 7th wedding invitation. Dear friends and family, I promise this will be my last wedding. If it doesn't work out, I will just live with another man, no more pledges. So please come along to this final ceremony with a man who, at the moment, fills my eyes. Do not bring any more presents, please. Poor Shahla's non-stick pan is still in the box. Mama Hamma's gold ring has not been put on, and the naughty lingerie will be worn for this man, since my ex was orthodox. He didn't last long. Do come along. I promise to wear something more sophisticated than a wedding dress. It's another chance to meet and talk about Amma's failure in bringing up her children, to shed light one more time on Leila's divorce and Nina's remarriage to her brother-in-law. We will have a fun night. I have told my new man so much about you, and it may be your only chance to meet him. With all my love, your little Lala. Thank you very much.
Don't you just love the idea of a dictator's boots turning into moist old men's shoes? I love that. And that is an image that is just so fierce and funny and burns. And it's kind of so Ozymandias, yeah? And then that cheeky woman poem featuring lingerie and non-stick pans. Oh, the worlds and weapons of women. And perfectly following that fierce poem is our fierce poet, Inga Gaile, an award-winning Latvian poet, president of Latvian Pen. She is a prose writer, playwright, performance artist, and theater director who explores with her unique brand of humor inner states of being, her own experiences, the everyday lives of women and stigmatized groups of society while promoting equal rights. Welcome, Inga.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for so kind words. The poem is translated to English by Eva Leshinska. Women hate each another. They have so little space in this world of men's hands, in this world where just some can live, the strong and the good. They have to fight for a place at the ring, with tooth and claw and strands of hair and nipples. They have to give up their dissertations as placemats for sardines and bread. They have to lie down as footstools to reach the cupboard's high shelf where there's liquor-filled candy. Women hate one another, but sometimes in a Russian or Finnish sauna, where everyone is naked, they simply spit. They spit with a hiss and sprawl out on the slats with their enemies of all races and body types, and just sit there a moment in silence once they've sat and calmed down. And the same thing happens on the other side of the wall. Thank you.
Hiss and spit, and then sit down. I feel like that poem sizzles off the page. Like, I'm surprised the paper didn't burst into flame as you were reading it. And now, hello, Pam. It is our pleasure to welcome Black Earth Institute fellow and editor, Pamela Yushuk. She is a member of PEN America, has published 7 collections of poems, including Crazy Love, an American Book Award winner, Bloodflower, and her forthcoming Refugee from Red Pen Press in Los Angeles. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you. I acknowledge that I live on and write on Tohono O'odham traditional lands. My poem, Watching the Geminid Meteor Shower. All through desert day, meteors burn out their lives in air that keeps us alive. Winter and the mountains nestle under starched blue, the color of a glacier's heart. I think of aunts and uncles stirring from low log houses at 50 below to break ice from horse noses, preparing to ride out through Kamchatka snow, deep as the memory of wolves, lifting songs to stars that fall across scent trails left by ermine and voles. Night by Arctic night that is Arctic day tilts its shadowy face from the vanished sun, while shooting stars sear across our retinas, and our planet hums through a meteor's disintegrating tail. Beneath glaciers breaking into the sea, beluga whales flow like ghosts, their smiles unmistakably kind as they sing old ice songs, open their mouths to a host of krill, while on the beach, golden eagles fight with harpies over a fat walrus carcass. Beluga, you resemble my great-grandmother, white kerchief knotted over her summer head. I don't know my Irkutsk cousins, only the name we share that means a whale or shark who spirals down, down, down to the bottom of the sea to evade her enemies, then rises unscathed to placid tides. Could she evade the floating acres of plastic and styrofoam islands strangling waves? Across the Pacific, pestilence walks our nation, swinging a smoky censer of disease, ossifying lungs to concrete, killing kidneys, clotting livers, brains, and hearts. 500,000 dead and counting. Why not look to the stars, so distant their icy poultices comfort our wounds? Or meteors that sizzle against loss, crossing midnight through Orion's diamond belt. What did my relatives call this constellation they drew on rock outcrops during the long days of a Siberian June so long ago? Brown bear standing on his hind legs, reaching for dark wild honey hived in the crown of night. Do those families bearing my name feel in their deepest dreams a lost cousin in a desert, counting another mass die-off of songbirds, with no sturdy horses to carry her home, calling across shimmering ice fields? Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Pam. Thank you for redefining family across time and species, and for naming the people whose land you are from. I come to you today from what is called Colorado. That was the Ute people's place. And I'm so glad to be reminded to say those words when I speak. And when I hear your words, I taste that dark, wild honey, that grief of loss in that sweetness. And now, visiting America, but coming to us from Ugandan pen, is our friend Danson Kayana. Danson is president of Ugandan pen, a member of the PEN International Board, and a senior lecturer in the Department of Literature at Makerere University in Uganda. Welcome, dear Danson.
Thank you so much, Judith. I'm so happy to be part of this beautiful event. I have 3 short poems. Poem number 1, Before I met you, for a lady called Rosalind. Before I met you, I lived in a desert, famished. When I met you, you watered me and greened my world. Before I met you, I was a caterpillar, clumsy and sluggish. When I met you, I turned into a butterfly, beautiful to behold. Before I met you, I was timid, unsure of myself. When I met you, I blossomed into a new being, confident and brave. Poem number 2, My Choice, again for Rosalind. A spark is too weak. It survives not a windstorm. A roar is too loud. It bruises the eardrum. A downpour is too violent. It knocks down the roof. You are my eternal choice, a smoldering fire, hot and deep, a whisper, soft and soothing, a drizzle, gentle and sweet. Poem number 3, which is also the last poem. I choose to dream. I choose to dream of the day our children will look at us incredulously, wondering if what we tell them about our era actually happened. They will doubt the tales about pit-mouthed ogres swallowing up young ladies as a precondition of hiring them, and five-eyed monsters slaughtering thousands of people because they happen to have a different skin pigmentation, and mild-stomached fiends devouring numerous forests and swamps, oblivious of the danger this brings to humanity. I chose to dream of the day our children will take for granted what we fight for now, certain that what we tell them about our days is exaggerated for rhetorical effect, for they cannot imagine that innocent lives were pummeled because of differences in sexuality and gender, with the heterosexual scalding the homosexual with magma-hot epithets, and the males pushing the females the depths of marginalization and desolation. I choose to dream of the day when our children will doubt the veracity of these tales, because the world they live in will be different from this one we know now. Yes, I choose to dream of the day we shall not have to dream of a better world, the day human beings will work together to stop the senseless return to the ignominious trade in lives and souls. Thank you so much.
What a fabulous range. And may your words come true, true, true for all our children. But still in my heart are, you watered me and greened my world. I just am so grateful for hearing the passion of a man for his wife of many years. Thank you, Danson. And now to our friend from Penn, Lebanon, we are going to hear poems by Bana Baidoun, a Lebanese poet and writer. Her first poetry book, The Guardian of Illusion, came out in 2013, followed by a short story, Pizza Delivery in Beirut Noir. Since then, her poems have been published in renowned literary magazines, most recently in DWB. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. I'll start with a poem that is translated to English. So excuse me in my reading if English is my third language. Okay. In the ocean's mouth, I wake up with a strange noise in my eyes, like a gurgling in the ocean's mouth. I remember being inside a shell, tiny as a chickpea, and no one saw me, not even the sardines. And I was digging an infinitely small hole. I wake up and the ceiling is high and everything seems much more spacious. Even my eyes and veins, I hear only the sound of my own breath, which are still constricted. The day's energy takes hold of me in stages, feet of clay, an introverted stomach, a whale's lung, a heart pouring like a cat, not out of happiness as far as I can tell. I stand beneath the shower. I turn on the hot water and shrink. The foam recedes, and so too all the parasites that fell from my skin. They disappear that easily without a trace, passing through the pipes to find other less complex creatures to prey upon. This is not the case with us. We live a single life, preying upon a single body. And even when we disappear, we need to dig deep until the pain becomes a structure and the heart a whole. And even then, we cannot make our bodies disappear and we leave them to other interlopers. And I read a poem in Arabic, or you prefer in English?
As you will.
Okay. I think maybe in English because I read some comments, people were like a bit, okay. Our lookalikes. Quickly the clouds pass over Paris, and inside my palm, the trace of a feeling, as though unsuited to any season. Quickly something passes that looks like a scene, looks like me, looks like you. Your cheek that I touched last time in a sort of farewell, and your face, sorry, I just, okay. Quickly something passes that looks like a scene, looks like me, looks like you. Your cheek that I touched last time in a sort of farewell, and your face that kept leaning forward until my hand took on the shape of your face. I left then carrying my hand that had held your face. Strange how real lookalikes can seem. I spread my arms out to the wind. I had no dream of flying, only the idea of that coming wind that I headed towards, with that sort of certainty that belongs only to those who live in their dreams. From afar, I saw someone who looked like me, but I didn't know which one of us was waiting for the other. Thank you.
Wow, I just feel like those words have been poured into me with the certainty of those who live in their dreams. Thank you, Bana. Next, we hear from the Vice President of the PEN Quebec Center, author of 11 books. Nora Atala is a French-Canadian writer. Welcome, Nora.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Je suis très heureuse d'être avec vous. I'm happy to be with you. Homme de sable, man of sand. Sous le phare, camouflage des couleurs. Pas de promesses d'issue lumineuse. Visible à l'œil. Un ongle fendillé. Peau morte. Au seuil de l'horreur se dénude la jeunesse. L'écorchure fourbue. Under the makeup, camouflage of colors, bland promises of light. Visible to the eye, a cracked fingernail, dead skin. At the threshold of horror, youth is stripped, powdered with abrasions. Sous les sourcils, lourdeur des paupières, iris de charbon, dans une cohue de membres arrachés, éparpillés sur la place publique, étalage de la peur. Under the eyebrows, heaviness of the eyelids, iris of coal. In a crowd of limbs at the public square, display of fears. Au seuil des décombres, corps à corps du pouvoir, pudique, une chaussure a perdu sa sœur. At the threshold of rubble, melee of power, a modest shoe has lost its sister. Sous les foulards, cheveux éteints, rouge à lèvres sans éclat, arabesque haut et nez, gouttelette insoupçonnée, suant dans des éclaboussures de rimel. Under the scarves, dull hair, faded lipstick, henna, arabesques, unsuspected droplets, flowing in splashes of mascara. Au seuil de la chair, duel, maculation de désespoir. At the threshold of the flesh, smudges, duel of despair. Les sangsues s'abreuvent doucement, tout doucement. The leeches drink slowly, so slowly. Quel jour sommes-nous? Si ce n'est toujours le même, tant à flot de blessures, plaies, tout sourire aux continents aveugles. What day are we? If not always the same one, blood streaming in wounds, plagues at all smiles, blind to continents. Quel jour sommes-nous si ce n'est celui de la rugosité du sable, la peau à fleurs de scorpion venimeux, pince déchiqueteuse de chair au soleil? What day are we, except the one of the roughness of sand, skin flushed with deadly scorpions? In the sun, there clips shredders of flesh. Quel jour, alors que les cités d'or se sont obscurcies de larmes filandreuses de ceux qui ne rêvent plus au défigurement de leur mère, de ceux dont la voix s'est perdue dans la bouche des canons. What day, while the cities of gold are dimmed with stringy tears of those who no longer dream, but of the disfigurement of their mothers, of those whose voices got lost in the mass of cannon. Merci.
Nora, your voice is like a silky cannon. You are heard and glad we are to hear you. And now we have one of our shining stars of the Women's Writers Committee. We have our Katlin Kaldma. Katlin, an Estonian poet, writer, and translator, and current international secretary of PEN International and a member of PEN Estonia, has had her literary work translated into more than 30 languages, and her books have been published in 8 languages. Welcome, Kathleen.
Poet is reading the palm of a poet. Poet turns the hand of the poet in dusklight this way and that, and the crow's feet in the corners of his eyes contract. Poet asks the poet to spread her palms wide and rests his hand on the hand of the poet. Hands of a poet are in the hands of a poet. Poet does not cast the hands of the poet from the hands of the poet. Poet does not raise the hand of the poet and say, this is the officially most fucked up person in this room. Poet closes her eyes and opens his eyes. Poet reads from the hand of the poet that the poet should tie herself to the mast to weather the songs of a poet. In the palm of the poet's hand, poet sees a river that was never a river running through the poet's village. On the hand of the poet, poet can hear seabirds praying, asking skies for a smooth way while over the winds they glide. Poet knows that on the poet's hand and nobody roams the path, a sea claiming the face, the skin, the garments. Poet sees on the hand of the poet a map that will show its roads and mountains only after the poet has tread them. Poet whispers under the palm of a poet, not a bird's flight between poet and poet. Poet raises the hands of the poet to his forehead. First one, then the other. In the head of the poet, Anna's voice is saying, Alarul es Elachi, Kilak Magabol es Elachi. In the head of the poet, Björk's voice is singing, he loves you, she loves me, she loves me, she loves you, she loves you, he loves me, he loves me. And the cloud descends from the palms of the poet that keeps the birds from taking flight. The poet talks in low, grumbling tones as to those who have seen the river of light running past their doorsteps, and on its banks, boars gorging on cider apples, never getting drunk. What's on the palm of a poet is on the palm of a poet. Thank you.
Riveting, held in the palm of the hand of the poet, holding the hand of the poet. Oh, love having a lyrical poem in the air. Thank you, Kathleen. Now we have our dear friend, Yirgalem Pisa Mebratu. Yirgalem was imprisoned from 2009 to 2015 in her home country of Eritrea. She was imprisoned for her writing for 6 years. After she was released in 2018, she fled her country, and currently Yirgalem is an honored scholarship member of the German Penn Center as a writer in exile. In 2019, she received the Freedom of Expression Penn Award and has published a book of her poetry. Yirgalem is going to read her poem first in Tigrinya, and then I will read her poem in English. Welcome, Yirgalem.
እጽሕፍ ኣለኹ ወይለይ ዝሓታቲ ወይለይ ዝደዋሊ ካብዛ ውፃእ መዓት እንታይ ድዩ ዝደሊ ሰሜን ደቡብ ዘሎ ምብራቕ ምዕራብ ዘሎ ታኽድውል ክሓስብ እንከሎ ቅድሚ ምጥዋኡ ግዲ እዩ ዝዳሎ እንታይ ትገብር ኣለኺ ኮይኑዋ ሕትኡ እንታይ ትሰርሕ ኣለኺ ጥራይ ዘረብኡ እጽሕፍ ኣለኹ ኣብ ቀትርን ጸላምን እጽሕፍ ኣለኹ ኣብ ጋህድን ኣብ ሕልምን ኣብ ዛንታ ኸኣስረን ንትማልን ሎምን ክጽሕፍ ኢለ እምበር ፀሓይ ኣብሪቐ ክበልዕ ኢለ ዶ ክንድዝ ያርሒቐ ዕብስ ኢለ ከይትኰስ ፈሪሐ ምእንቲ ኸስተንፍስ ኣፍ ልበይ ነፊሐ ንሱ ደልየ እንዴ ዓደቦ ይራሕሪሐ Thank you.
And now the poem in English. I am writing. What an inquisitor, what a caller. What is he expecting from this survivor? Whether from north or south or from east or west. When he thinks of putting a call on the phone, I think he is ready before pressing the button. What are you doing is all he asks. What are you working on are his only words. I am writing day and night. I am writing in reality and dream to tie in a knot of story yesterday and today. I shone my day's sun so that I could write. I traveled half the globe, not for a morsel bite, afraid of exploding from being muzzled to breathe freely. That's why I have forsaken my homeland. Thank you for these immense and courageous and sorrowing words, Jürgen. Have to breathe after a poem like that, yeah? We all know that feeling, how the air is just a little bit different. Now it is my pleasure to bring to you Sarita Janamani. Sarita is an Austria-based poet of Indian origin. She is a literary translator, an anthologist, and editor of a bilingual magazine for migrant literature, Words and Worlds. She is a human rights activist, a feminist, author of 3 collections of poetry, and Sarita is the general secretary of PEN International's Austrian Center. Welcome, Sarita.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and today I'm going to read 2 poems. The first one I dedicate to all refugee women and all women who are living in immigration. It's called Love in Exile. No, I will not write anymore. No, I will not write anymore about white feathered peacocks, about temples and their enigmatic aura, not about blue lilies and the labyrinth of banyan trees either. I will write about a land you sleepwalked into, far away from battlefields, the valleys of landmines, holding my hand, a land of meditating mountains, placid gardens, slumbering meadows, a land without totem and taboo. A no man's land, where I still put my gladiator helmet on and prepare to send my child with the next departing troop, watching its dilapidated vanilla sky falling into pieces and waiting for you to resurrect. The second one is against the instrument of patriarchy that since ages silencing women's voices and other love songs. Do not ask them. Do not ask them about the scars on their bodies. They lick their scars in silent afternoon in the same elegant way they plait their hair after an unwanting act of lovemaking. In them, sometimes a cremation ground in serenade, sometimes a holy plant breathes its last. Science that seems to alive through the vital language that names them. Do not ask them for the traces of their tongues, for they are taught the best part of their sentences is silence. They know how to sweep out their voices from their yards day in and day out. They master the ability to distill the hunch of existence. They mute their scars with their silenced love songs. Thank you.
Thank you. Your poem has broken the silence of those women sweeping their voices from the yard, Sarita. Wonderful, thank you. Next, we have poet, performer, and visual artist Ray Marie Taylor. Ray Marie is writing for the spiritual health of our contemporary lives. She lives and writes in Montreal and is a member of San Miguel Pen and Centre Québécois du Pen. Welcome, Ray Marie.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you all, and I'm grateful to all of the poets' words. Si je disais, après toutes ces années loin de vous, what can I say from so far away? That my sister died, and my brother-in-law too, and a few good friends here and there. If I spoke, what words could touch the silence, the leaving of those we love? Si je parlais des mots refoulés of soul's silence, would I speak of the catastrophes that hate? Si je disais, if I spoke of 9/11 or the murders in the mosque echoing still, would I speak of the fear so widespread, or now of all the children searching for home on the border? Oh, my heart. What could I tell you? Only that the horror silenced me, it's true, and your words flowed. Si je disais, it's true. I'm grateful that the dances go on in the pueblos with the silence of the land, the soft feet on dust that soothes and celebrates. Si je disais, je dirais que je t'aime. Je dirais Dio mio, je dirais mi corazón. I'd say, oh my God, oh my heart. I'd say, I love you. And you'd tell me of the deep unease among us now. Together we'd say how we grasp at hope and dare to sing to stay alive. We'd cringe, then laugh loud at the wise risks we've taken, louder still at those not so wise. Hope. Yes, we say un monde nouveau, a better world, and what is it exactly that we grasp for? Peace, paix, paz, pace, Dio mio, pace. Oh, now look at your son. Here he is. He's taller than you, and his own darling children have been born. We have grown older, I'd say. What I'd want to tell you is the joy full some days that we've lived a long time together and apart, that this is good, that we are lucky, that I love my people. Para no cambiar mi amor, cet amour ne changera pas. Then you tell me you don't know if we can believe anymore. I say it matters that we do, but I know what you mean. What can we say when everything has changed? Si je disais, I would say, je dirais que je vous aime. I'd say, I love you. Je dirais, Dio mio. Je dirais, mi corazón. Oh, my heart. I'd sing, gracias a la vida. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray Marie. Silence speaks, it's true, every language, but our poets remind us that it is by singing that we stay alive. Love that. Now we go to our friend from Penn, Chile. Christina Wormul says to us that she is a poet of delusional dreams, impossible love, and friendships tattooed on the heart. Her center is Penn, Chile. Welcome, Christina Wormul.
Christina Wormul. I'm glad to be here. I'm going to read a poem in Spanish, first in Spanish, then in English. Al final del día, La bruja ve el fin de su tiempo, un tiempo eterno, efímero, una ráfaga de viento antes de partir. La bruja sobre su escoba palpa, presiente el dolor de la ausencia, un dormir más allá de amores y pesares, el reposo en brazos del olvido. La bruja sabe la vida es un instante, un beso, un abrazo, una pasión que se esfuma entre olvidos y traiciones. Matan poco a poco danzantes ilusiones. Quizás la bruja espera, siempre espera, que todo su saber sea ignorancia, yacer entre los brazos de un gigante que borre los fantasmas de la muerte. At the end of the day, the witch sees the end of her time, an eternal, ephemeral time, a gust of wind before leaving. The witch on her broom feel the pain of absence, sleep beyond looks and regrets, rest in the arms of oblivion. The witch knows life is an instant, a kiss, a hug, a passion that vanishes. Between forgetfulness and betrayal, little by little they kill dancing illusions. Maybe the witch waits, always wait. May all your knowledge be ignorance. Lie in the arm of a giant to erase the ghost of the dead. That's not, it's not.
Thank you, Christina. Your words did incarnate in our veins and in our blood. And now it is a real pleasure to again bring to our stage Salil Tripathi. Salil, born in India and residing in New York, is the chair of the PEN International Writers in Prison Committee, and he is a member of PEN American Center and English PEN. Salil writes poetry and prose in Gujarati and English. And we are so glad you're here with us today. Welcome, Salil.
Thank you. This is a poem about Amanda Gorman, who was followed by a security guard because he thought she was walking in a suspicious manner. And I want to keep in mind these instructions, which are on the back of every piece of medicine as I read this. Yeah, every piece of tablets here. Amanda, don't walk in a suspicious way, even on your own street. Amanda Gorman says security guard confronted her saying she looked suspicious. The New York Times, March 6, 2021. The security guard is right. Amanda Gorman, you're warned. Don't walk in a suspicious way, even on your own street. The government has issued a fresh advisory about the reading and writing of poetry. Facts. Active ingredients, ideas. Uses. Temporarily relieves pain and suffering among those experiencing grief, loss, injustice, or nostalgia. Temporarily provides comfort and healing, may also lift the mood until reality intrudes. Can be written, said, or read anywhere at any temperature. Known side effects. Use with discretion and caution. Poetry contains ideas and words which may cause acute discomfort and produce a sense of guilt among those who wield power. Ask a doctor before reading if you have no sense of humor, no appreciation of other points of view, rapidly rising temper when confronted by unfamiliar ideas, trouble thinking outside the box, lack of imagination. When reading poetry, do not exceed recommended dose. There are no known restrictions. Read as long as it pleases you. Then put the book aside. Return to it another time. In case of overdose, go for a walk. Listen to music. Stop use and immediately consult a friend if frustration and helplessness occurs. Symptoms do not improve within 24 hours. Keep out of reach of people carrying swords, guns, stones, and machetes. Stay away from fundamentalists, prosecutors, the police, and the judiciary. Fine print. Warning for readers. Do not use, if you read words, for their literal meaning. Do not expect the poem to remove gloom permanently. If you have a pre-existing condition of reading text where words are not meant to deviate from their meaning, consult your high school English teacher before reading a poem. As Humpty Dumpty said, when I use a word, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. Warning for poets. Poets are advised to be extremely cautious while writing about religion, those with authority, those with power, and those with wealth. Some known examples of side effects. In Myanmar, police killed 2 poets on the street because instead of staying at home and writing poetry, Min Min Zin and Keza Win went out protesting against the military. In India, Barabara Rao, 80, had to be restrained and chained to his bed in the jail because the police feared he might overthrow the government. In Saudi Arabia, Ashraf Fayyad was sentenced to 800 lashes because of poems he wrote for which he was accused of committing apostasy. In the former Soviet Union, Osip Mandelstam was known to have died in the Gulag because he mocked the leader. In China, Liu Xiaobo died without warning the government that he was going to die, even after the government magnanimously released him on medical parole, making the government lose face. In Israel, Darin Tatur was jailed for writing a poem about freedom. In Bangladesh, men came to Shahjahan Bachchu's house and shot him dead because he wrote that it was okay if somebody does not want to believe in God. In Uganda, Stella Nyanzi had to flee to Kenya because the one she loved was tortured because she wrote a poem about vagina. In Britain, Saeed Tala Hassan is in jail because America wants him extradited. Even in jail, he has shown no improvement and persists in writing poetry. In Spain, Pablo Hasél was sentenced to 2 years in prison for insulting the crown. Amanda Gorman, you are warned. Don't walk in a suspicious way, even on your own street. Thank you.
Whoa, sassy! The words in Salil's poetry mirror are closer than they appear. Now we go to our friend Lyda Melian. Lyda is a poet laureate and doctor and author of Puerto Rico Center. Welcome, Lyda.
I'll read 2 poems. The first one in Spanish, La vida. La vida no se nos da prehecha. La vida no es un regalo de nuestros padres. La vida se nos da abierta, como esas libretas que compramos con una portada hermosa, con muchas líneas. Nos corresponde a nosotros escribir, borrar y volver a escribir, vivir y revivir editando líneas previamente escritas en el diario completo que hemos escrito a partir de nuestro iluso pensamiento. Nos corresponde acentuar, poner
I think Lyda may have frozen.
todo ello mientras vivimos. En algún momento, tras mucho dolor, encontraremos el equilibrio interno que nos lanzará de nuevo a vivir otro asalto en la vida. My second poem, and the one I wrote for this activity, is Echoes for Eternity. In the beginning, there was silence. Nature stepped to show our power, and the seed grew within us. The cross sealed our voices. We were mothers, we were daughters, we were wives, out of a rib, and we kept silent. Out of the power of grief and frustration, silence was shattered, and we screamed in unison. If you cry, I cry. If you laugh, I laugh. If you're hungry, I'll feed you. And if you are ever silenced, I will lend you my voice. Let me speak your words of rebellion and condemnation. Let me shout your name for others to hear, because we all seek to live in a kingdom of fairness and justice, with a bra or without it, shaved heads or long hair, dresses or pants. We are not to be taken for granted, always to be respected as one single voice that echoes our thoughts for eternity. Thank you.
Lyda, if you are ever silenced, I will lend you my voice. And isn't that the pledge that we have all made? Absolutely. So, bringing us on home, the inimitable Stella Nyanzi. Stella Nyanzi, our famous and infamous Ugandan poet, academic, activist, was imprisoned and since thankfully released for posting poems on Facebook critical of the president of Uganda. Ah, the power of the poem. Stella and her children are currently safe in exile in Kenya. Her passion and clarity will complete our program today. Stella Nyanzi courageously meets outrage with outrageous. Welcome, Stella.
Right, the imprisoned awardee. They saw courage in her voice. They saw her protest fist raised high in the diction of her poems. They saw resilience in her words, her defiant boldness shattering the repressive silence, her insane words discordant to the monotonous harmony of the tyrant's praise singers. They saw her and they awarded her bravery, recognized her contribution, affirmed her as a mighty pen warrior, a writing ninja commando, shooting down militant oppressors with diction, sentences, and punctuation marks. Her name was emblazoned on a beautiful plaque. Her name was shared on their websites, podcasts, blogs, and newspapers. Her name was crafted into catchy trending hashtags demanding for her freedom. They celebrated her voice on the outside. Far away across borders, they loaded her wordsmithing. In lands many nautical miles away, they held honorary meetings for her. They even put her photo on an empty chair in honor of the power of her words. Poems written in her honor were recited at bonfire assemblies as fireflies lit the dark night gardens. Her outlawed poems were shared while solemn audiences shared finger food. They petitioned ambassadors, high commissioners, ministers, and even judges. They sent her handwritten letters, confiscated by mean prison wardresses upon arrival. In her prison cell, she felt loved by the outpouring of love. In the silence of her prison cell, she was affirmed by their solidarity. In the dark night of her prison cell, she wrote a new poem powered by their love for her. They saw courage in her new poem. Thank you.
Oh, dear Stella, we see the courage in your new poem, and we see just the hem of what it takes to have that kind of courage. And I'm just so grateful, and grateful for your safety, and grateful for you to be here. So here we are. We have done it, and we have heard astonishing, phenomenal poetry from around the entire world. And excuse me if I say, and I must, that I think this is my favorite poetry event that I have ever hosted, not only for the astonishing skill and quality and beauty of the poetry, but the passion and the dedication to freedom, to liberation, and to what holds us all together in value of this planet. I just want to scream, yay! And I want to hear everyone else screaming, yay! And so that must mean that it is time to thank everyone. So of course I thank you, my beloved poets, for all you've done and for all your patience. And I thank you, our beloved audience, for coming and being with us, because without you, this community is not whole and soul. And in order to bring this here today, I thank our incredible tech crew of Ola and Portia and Marlia and Pablo and Jason and our director, Tina Bika. And we could never have done this without the brilliant direction and the continual beautiful meeting in friendship of the PEN's International Women's Writers Committee, headed by our Zoe Rodriguez. I'm so excited, I'm losing language. Do you love it? The PEN International Women's Writers Committee, headed by Zoe Rodriguez and beautifully staffed by the rest of us, which includes Lucina Kathman, Caitlin Kaldma, Tanya Tuma, Sarah Lawson, and am I forgetting? Oh, and our new member, Netza Wilhelm. And so, let's see, was there anything else? Oh, yes. For our guest to PEN today, we want to invite all of you to join us in our efforts. Please find your pen. For more information, we have posted the PEN International website, the San Miguel PEN website, and my email in our chat. And today, which is World Poetry Day, on our website, you can read in its entirety Jennifer Clemens' statement. And then all week from Monday to Thursday, we will be highlighting the case of a poet in danger, a poet from Belarus, Cuba, India, and Rwanda. And now, marvelously, I get to introduce the chair of the Women's Writers Committee, and our Zoe Rodriguez is here to close our gathering. Welcome, Zoe.
Hello, everybody. Now it's good morning to some, good afternoon to others, good evening to others, and good 5 a.m. to me. I want to thank Judith very especially for this wonderful poetry session she has just brought us. The energy is unstoppable and unmissable, and it has been truly terrific for us all. And thank you to Tina, who is our cyber advisor, and our poetry shows are so slick because of her input. Of course, we have to thank all the poets for sharing their thoughts and their words with us. Stella, I just love this image of a writing ninja commando. It's powerful, it's wonderful, and I'm sure it's you. And I know that we celebrated your voice on the outside. Thank you, all poets, for your wonderful contributions. Thank you earlier in the day to our panelists. They were marvelous for sharing, giving us testimony about what is happening in their countries. And to all the members who have joined us here today and participated in a lively way on chat using keyboards that you are so familiar with. I wanted to say this medium, of course, we'd all rather there wasn't a pandemic and that we could meet in person, but actually it is so intimate. I get to see into people's lounge rooms, and I get to sit here in my own lounge room. That's sort of special. I wonder if we won't miss it after the pandemic. Maybe not. So the cyber gods have shone on us. Perhaps it is because it is International Poetry Day. But it is also because of the wonderful contribution of the PEN staff, who have spent their Saturday helping with making this such a success, led by Olha, who always keeps us on the right path, and Pavlo and Portia and Malia. And of course, I have to thank my fellow Women Writers Committee board members who make this whole thing work so well and make it so much fun along the way. Judith, I've thanked you already, but you're terrific in those meetings. Sarah Lawson, Katlin Kaldmar, Tanya Tuma, our newest recruit, Nisha Wilhelm, and of course, our backbone, our real leader, our everything, Lucina Catman. Friends, can't wait till we see you again. We will have a poetry session, I'm sure, before our next committee meeting. Stay in touch and please let us help you. Tell us what we can do for you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Zoe. Well, I trust that after this feast of beauty, we are full. Oh, thank you so much, all of you, for raising your voices in global witness. And so now we thank you and say adios, aviento, farewell, and we close Free the Word by remembering the poets and the people of Myanmar under siege and all the silence writers around the world, and Gulmira Imin, whom, like all the Uyghur writers in Xinjiang prison, voices we long to someday hear. We ask you all to join your PEN, be active in your PEN Center, and make that possible. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, and thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Judith.
Good night, Zoe.
Thousand thanks, Judith and Lucina.
Our pleasure.
Thank you very much, Judith. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Judith. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.